and welcome to my country garden. Well, the spring's been quite forgiving here in the UK with quite high temperatures for the time of year and not too much in the way of frost or rain or high winds. And as a consequence, if you're anything like me, you've probably overcommitted by sowing more than you actually have space for indoors. So what I'd like to do today is just show you how I took some risks and got some things out, potentially when they shouldn't have been out, and let's have a look at those and see what the status is and see whether they have survived, thrived or otherwise. So I've got a few other things that I want to get done today as well, including getting my second batch of sweet peas out, getting my main crop potatoes sown, and a couple of other things besides. So these are the the sweet peas that I'm going to be putting in. I sort of rather left them in the polytunnel. I have pinched out the tops now. There's two varieties actually. This one's called Tiller Girls and the other one is called Green Fingers. So I'm just going to put these around the teepee that I've just built, and hopefully, okay, they're a bit long and lanky, but they should be fine. Okay, I just need to just tie it up, some of them up a little bit just to give them a head start, and then they should romp away. Right, before I show you the main crops that I'm going to be putting in today, I'll just give you a quick update on the potatoes that I have already got in. So down here are 2 pots of rocket. These are first earlies, and I have another 2 pots here. These are 20-litre pots. And what I did with these potatoes was I actually sowed a single potato into a small pot and grew it into a small plant. And then once I had some small plants, I put 2 of each plant into these 20-litre tubs. I'm gradually earthing them up, if you like. They are first earlies, but because I had plants rather than potatoes, I am earthing them up. We're nearly at the top of the pots now, and they're outside and they're doing great. Down the side of the garden, just as last year, I've got most of my potato pots. And we've got Charlotte. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pots of Charlotte. There's an empty pot there. Then I've got a couple of pots of main crops that I was gifted. These are Caledonian Rose, so I've already put those in. I put those in about a week ago. And then I have some more main crops actually. These all came from a single seed potato, the variety Manitou, and these are the potatoes that I grew last year as part of the single seed potato challenge. And I actually had a single Manitou that I cut into 3 and grew them on as small, into small plants, and then I put 1 of each plant into 30-litre pots and topped them up with compost. So I've got these in 3 nice pots from a single seed potato, and I'm comfortable that I'll get a nice little harvest out of these. So I've got some space just as well, because I've now got the actual main crops that I'm growing this year, and I actually have another couple of Manitous that I'm just going to put in whole rather than chop them up. Okay, I have a bag of potatoes here. These have been chitting indoors. Here's some of them. These are my main crops, and the variety that I'm growing is Picasso. I grow Picasso each year. I love these potatoes. They're really nice main crops and very versatile. So I've got quite a lot of Picasso, and that's, as I say, my main crop. I also have 2 more of potatoes that I saved from last year from the single seed potato challenge. These are called Manitou, and this is desperately, it feels a bit squidgy actually. Yeah, these are desperately in need of getting in, so I'm going to pop these. I'll put just both of these in one bucket and see if they come to anything. Their chits are certainly looking great anyway. So, and I'm going to be potting them on in a similar fashion. Get my gloves on. So 30-litre pot, about 4 inches of compost in the bottom. Let me just turn you down so you can see. Then I'm going to add 2 handfuls of potato fertiliser and 2 handfuls either blood, fish and bone, or in this case chicken manure pellets, as I've just about finished the blood, fish and bone. So I can get this mixed in. Then position my potatoes. I'll put the Manitous in first. So I'll pop the potatoes in, and then I just top it up. And I'm not going to earth these up. I'm just going to top them right up to the top. Now, I'm not going to do that here because actually I'm going to be moving these over to the side of the garden. So I'll just put enough in to cover them over, and then I'll fully top them up when they're in situ, so that I'm not having to lug fully filled 30-litre pots across the garden. So that's all there is to it really. After this, it's just a case of making sure that they have adequate water. And because we're technically not at our last frost date here in central Scotland is about mid-May. But yeah, I'm fairly confident that we're going to be okay there. If something does happen and we're going to get a heavy frost, I'll be running about like a maddie, covering any plants that I feel need it with fleece. Now, if the potatoes haven't broken the surface, they'll be absolutely fine. But for, like the potatoes I showed you earlier, the the first earlies and the Manitou that I sowed earlier that are now, have now broken the surface, I would cover those over as well. But fingers crossed, I think we're going to be okay. So here's a tomato that I am going to pot up. It's the only one of this variety that I have. It's called Artisan Pink Tiger, and it's a cherry tomato type with pink and red stripes. But actually I have tomatoes at various stages because I've actually sown them all the way through this year so far. I sowed some Shirley tomatoes actually at the end of January. So let me show you what they're looking like now. And the tomatoes have been my first risk where bringing things out are concerned. Because if you imagine something that I've sown in January is going to be quite big by now. So let's see what they're looking like. So this is a tomato grow house I'm going to be using this year for my tomatoes, and I already have some in situ. So let me show you. I actually have 3 tomatoes that are already in their final growing positions. This first one is called Santa Victoria, and it is a small plum type tomato. The middle one is Shirley, and the end one is another Santa Victoria, and I've got a few other bits and pieces in here just taking shelter at the moment. Now the Santa Victorias are very happy. You can see they're looking nice, there's some flowers on them. Yeah, so they're coping well. The Shirley is struggling, truth be known. It has had the longest time out in colder weather. And you can see here that we're a bit brown in some of these leaves. So first of all, I actually brought, when they became too large for the house, I brought the Shirleys out into the Polytunnel, and I'll show you what else is in the Polytunnel. And then a couple of weeks ago, I popped it in here. So to be fair, it was too early for the Shirleys. If I was going to sow any tomatoes that early in the season, I would make sure they were a small variety. The Shirleys sprung up quite quickly. But I think it's going to be okay. You know, it's flowering and the weather's only going to improve now, so hopefully it will recover from the trauma. And yeah, it should be fine. If there's any doubt, I have got lots of tomatoes, and I'll just whip this one out and pop in another one that is doing better. Talking of doing better, here are another 2 tomatoes. Now these have only been out here for a week, and these are called Outdoor Girl, and these are a variety of tomato that's got like the potato leaves. You know, they look like potato plants, and these are destined to be actually grown outdoors. And in fact, I may I may pot these out, actually put them into their final positions today, or certainly I will do it this week because we're getting some better weather and it doesn't look like we're going to get any frost now, to be fair. So yeah, Outdoor Girl, very, very strong plants. I've got another one just a little bit smaller that isn't out yet, but really pleased with these, and it's quite happy being in this little tomato grow house as a sort of halfway house between indoors and outdoors where they're going to grow. Okay, here in the Polytunnel it is going a bit crazy with lots of seedlings and so on. And I don't have the seedlings moved out so that I can make space for the tomatoes that are going to be grown in here. So I do have tomato plants in here. Some of them have been in for 2 or 3 weeks actually, but they're in their pots. They haven't, as I say, been able to be put into position and got their proper strings, etc. on. So the first one here this is another Santa Victoria. Again, it's looking rather nice. Then we have another, is this another Shirley? Yeah, this is another Shirley, and you can see it also struggled a little bit because these were out here quite early on. I would say they've been out here a month. I was keeping an eye on the weather, obviously. Lots of flowers, and in fact, if I go over to this one, is this a Shirley? This is a Shirley, and I have tomatoes. So, you know, should I take the tomatoes off? I don't think so. I'm just going to leave them on. So we're going to get some little tomatoes here, which is nice. They maybe aren't going to be the most productive plants, but they're started and they're on their way. I also have this Romelo, which is an indeterminate. So this is a smaller one, and this is quite happy in the polytunnel now. And this is the final one in here, and I believe this is, oh, what is this one? Where's my label? I've lost my label, but I think that's another Santa Victoria. So yes, tomatoes out very early, some of them extremely early, and they're sort of doing okay, hanging on in there. Maybe not the most robust tomato plants, except for the Outdoor Girl, which are looking fantastic. But yeah, had to have a go. Now I do have, what else do I have? I've got Sun Gold, and I have got another variety which escapes me growing on in the house, but they're only about that size at the moment, so they will come out later once they are a bit bigger and that they're sort of grown in a more sensible fashion. But I don't mind, you know, it means I've got probably a succession almost of tomatoes as we go through the season. Now I also took some risks with my chilies and sweet peppers, well some of them anyway, because if any of you watch my earlier videos, you would know that initially I wasn't going to grow any hot peppers, but I succumbed to what I was seeing everyone else do. So I do have a few chili peppers on the go. I also have sweet peppers on the go, which is great. And most of these are indoors. They're still on windowsills or underneath grow lights. However, I did bring some out, and you can see them here. So I brought a couple of King of the North out, sweet peppers, and they're looking okay. They're smaller than the ones indoors though. And then I brought some chilies out, and there's a few chili peppers in here, Aji Norteno, and there's a cayenne, and I think there is, what else is there? Let's see. Oh, that's it. Aji Norteno as well, or Aji Norteno. So they're doing okay. Could probably do with being pinched out at the top again, but they are surviving. But the ones indoors are doing that bit better. They're a bit bigger, a bit healthier looking. But again, it was just getting a bit crazy indoors, and I had to bring some things out. So I think it's been worth the risk. While I'm in here, I've just seen my first no-go of the season. These are sweet corn, and I did have the propagator lid on, but look, the sweet corn has been eaten. So I don't know if any are still in there. I don't have any more sweet corn, so I don't know, I might just buy some from the garden centre, because I did want to try sweet corn this year. Annoying, annoying. I thought that was going to be enough to protect. Can a mouse get in there? I wonder if it was small enough that it could just nip in there with this silly lid. I should have put a better lid on. Oh well, you live and you learn. Darn. I do have lots of other things happening in here. Lots and lots of flowers. Lots of flowers. Most of them doing really, really nicely. Here's all my sunflowers. I've been a bit crazy on the old sunflower front. So some of these are, well actually that's cornflowers, but sunflowers there, sunflowers down here. I also have lots of other flowers, flowers, and I do have some veggies as well. I've got some leeks there, got some courgettes over here. I have, what else do I have on the veg front? Yeah, I've got some beans here. I popped some beans out here. These are Polish Independence bean, and here are some more courgettes. Now I've got my dahlias in pots, and they're just not doing anything. These are brand new from Farmer Gracie's, so they're good dahlias. Ah, here we go. There we go. That is starting to sprout. That's good. That makes me feel better. Maybe I'm just not giving them enough time. So I hope I'm going to have a good dahlia display this year, courtesy of the dahlias that I bought from Farmer Gracie. I do love dahlias. So looking up the garden, you can see these 4 green raised beds. Ignore the fact that the grass is needing cut. It's starting to rain now, so it's not going to get done today. But these beds are where I grow a variety of sort of country garden type flowers, so that really I have a real abundance of flowers in these beds. And the next risk I took relates to those, because these first 2 beds here, I actually planted up about 3 weeks ago. And there's a variety of things in here, all homegrown. And you can see I've kept the labels in just so that when I see them as flowers, I'll know whether I like them or not. But you can see I've got cosmos, I've got antirrhinums, I've got the lovely love affair poppies from my own saved seed from last year. I have cosmos, I said cosmos, I've got calendula, and I've got little white daisies. And the same in this one, although this one also, there's an astrantia that was in the pot from last year. And looking at them, you can see they're looking absolutely cracking. Really, really nice indeed. They have survived well. I fleeced them one night, but other than that, they're looking great. And I will try and jam in a few more plants as well. I've still got cornflowers that were a wee bit behind, and I'll need to get those out, and I'll pop some cornflowers in here as well. And then yesterday, I planted up the next 2. Not quite as full because I've not got enough plants of the right size to pop out, but soon it will become full. So that one there and this one here, and we've got some zinnias in here as well as the other flowers that I mentioned. So it was a bit of a risk. So of course there are dates that generally you should be following when it comes to sowing and growing and planting out, etc. But you've just got to try and work with nature. And if you have an exceptionally mild season like we're having here at the moment, spring in the UK, then you know, why not try to pop the things out a little bit earlier. The tomatoes are a wee bit hit and miss, but I think the flowers are definitely all the better for getting out, because they were starting to get a little bit pot bound. So yeah, fingers crossed it all continues. I'd love to hear what you're doing with regard to getting things out. Have you stuck with the official dates that things should go out for your area, or have you just thought, no, weather's too nice, let's just try? I'd love to hear. Okay, with this little guy, I'm just going to take off the bottom leaves, and then I'm going to plant it nice and deep. So actually, I'm going to plant it even deeper. going to pop a little support in it just now, just to hold it up. I'm going to pop this into the polytunnel, put a little bit of a support on it, and let it grow on in there. And that's actually where it will, once it's installed properly, when I clear out the other seedlings, that's where it's going to grow on. Right, let me quickly run around the veg that I've got out in beds now, and you can see how they are getting on, and they're getting on quite well. I tidied up this strawberry bed earlier on in the year, and yeah, it's looking good. The strawberries have excuse me, have bounced back after the winter, and I think we've got a couple of flowers there, not many, but they're looking nice and healthy, so it shouldn't be too long before we start seeing flowers. I'm really impressed with this bed. Here we've got some onions. These are fasto, and interspersed with those I popped in some lettuce. The lettuce is called Freckles, and I hope you can see through the net. They're green leaves with red freckles on, and they're looking fantastic actually, and they're quite happy in between the onions. And I'll start to harvest some of the leaves. I won't take them all out in one fell swoop. I'll start to harvest some of the leaves for me and for the birds. Now in this big bed here, where we have the parsnips and the carrots are going fantastic. I put in 5 rows of carrots. These are sweet candle, and you can see they're coming on brilliantly. Where the parsnips are concerned, I put in 2 varieties, Pallas and Gladiator. 3 rows of Pallas, and you can see that they've come up. I was quite careful with how I actually sowed, so I won't need to do too much in the way of thinning. So I've got 3 rows of Pallas, and they're fantastic, but not one of the Gladiators has come up. So I've got a row here that I could do something with. I'm thinking about what I will do with it, whether I'll put some more parsnips in or not. I don't think so. I don't know. I'll pop something else in here, but I'm not sure what yet. Anyone get any suggestions? I mean, I could put more lettuce in, but yeah, there's bound to be other things that I can pop in there that would be quite happy in with the carrots and the parsnips. In the other big bed, I have some skipper cauliflower. You can see I've got 6 in there. And the other half of the bed I've not got anything in yet, but I'll be putting in cabbages, I would imagine, once they're ready to be planted out. I've got another bed here. I'm going to change the netting on it. I've got some nice black netting now, and you can see it's under a tree, so it's pretty gross. There's some bird poo there. Protecting my plants though. So yeah, in here again I've done the whole lettuce and onion combo. This is onion, what's the onion? Carmine, it's a red onion, and the lettuce is a mix with red Grenoble, I think is the main one in there. And I know I'm meant to be talking about veg, but I can't wait to show you this bed. This is a new bed. Last year this was just a pile of rotting logs and other bits and pieces, and I've made it into a flower bed or a shrub type bed. So there's a whole variety of things in here. We've got a hydrangea there. I've got some astilbes. I've got a couple of little, I've got a salix and a, what's this? something else. Elder. Salix and an elder. I got a sedum last week and I've popped that in. And there's some heucheras. And over here there's actually an aquilegia that I transplanted from somewhere else. So a variety of things in here, and I'm quite excited about how this is going to look. I might even pop a couple of dahlias in here once they are ready to go out. But it's a lovely bed, although unfortunately it's still accessible by the chickens, by the ones that want to pop over the fence. So it's a bit of it's mind games we're playing at the moment with the chickens to try and stop them going in here. Oh, and the hostas are coming back. Look at that. Cracking big hostas. I really need to split them before next year, but they're looking great. I popped out my Kent blue peas last week and they seem to be quite happy here. And the douche Provence peas are doing fine as well. And there's also some little lettuces in here. Grenoble red again. Another strawberry bed. We're starting to get some flowers on these strawberries, which is nice. And then here is my third set of onions, again with lettuce in between, and these are exhibition onions. These went in just a few days ago, and I popped in some lettuce in between as well. And then earlier on today I just popped these in. They're a little bit chewed because the chickens got them before I transplanted them. These are Calabrese, and it is Calabrese Stromboli. They're quite small, but hopefully they will do absolutely fine in here. And finally, in this bed here, I planted out some of the Chimidarapa, but I think I was a little bit late, and it's going to flower. It's certainly not going to give me much in the way of eating, so yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with these. This is the second year I've tried them. The second year I've failed. It's like broccoli rab, so it's a sort of 90-day, I think, broccoli, but I don't know if I'm not doing it right or what. But I'm pretty sure I'm just going to end up pulling these out and giving them to the chicken and the quail. Let me know how you're getting on. Are you getting things out early, or are you sticking to the recommended dates? I'd love to hear. Anyway, for now, I think I'll call a halt. If you have enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you again very, very soon. Bye bye for now.